A guy has to remember, take the flowers, cut each stem, and put them in the vase and honey, not throw them on the table, make a drink, and she's over there doing all the work. No, no, no. He can do all this caring and romantic stuff by doing it for her.
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for tuning in again to Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. We're back with Richard Drobnick talking about emotional needs of men and women. And today we're going to focus on what do women wish men knew about them. Richard, thanks so much for staying over.
Oh, thank you for having me again, and I'm more than happy to continue on here.
Well, on our last segment, as we said, we talked about, what men wish women knew. What would you say are the key, or is like the key emotional difference in a woman that women wish men understood?
I would say that a woman's need for feeling cared for is probably the number one emotional need she wants a man to understand. And to feel cared for, a woman wants to feel heard. When she's talking, she's expressing her emotions, she's expressing her feelings. And for a woman to feel cared for, a man has to learn how to listen, to respect that emotional message, and not just connect with the intellectual part. So a woman wants to be heard and validated and recognized for what she's saying with her feelings. For example, I've used this example if she's talking about an issue, an emotional issue with a family member, and a guy just jumps in and says, "Well, just don't talk to her," or just say, "I gotta go now," or he tries to fix it in some way, or just tells her, "You know what? Don't let that bother you." That's one of the worst things a man can say. Don't overreact emotionally. Who cares what she thinks? It's like stake in her heart. It's like she wants to feel you're hearing me. We're connected. We're sharing something. So for men to understand that sharing and expressing and connection is what's important. It's very different than a man. Again, a man will say something and want an answer. He's going to want a solution. He's going to want it dealt with that way. And a woman, the expression and connection is so vitally important. So a man to know that is really important stuff. A man that can listen is going to be a happy man.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily see this in the article, but, where a man needs to feel needed, I think a woman needs to feel desirable.
Yeah, and devotion, romance, are all a way of feeling desirable. A man needs to know that for a woman to feel desirable is to show her, well, he can say, you look nice today. He can put his arm around her as a way of affection. He can bring the flowers home and say, these are for you, honey. And again, a guy has to remember, take the flowers, cut each stem, and put them in the vase and say, honey, not throw them on the table, make a drink, and she's over there doing all the work. No, no, no. He can do all this caring and romantic stuff by doing it for her, making that extra effort to show her in these behaviors that he cares. Writing a note, a special note, thinking of you, are all things of helping her feel, attractive and loved by him.
Mm-hmm. And what if a man just doesn't have that in him, or he thinks he doesn't have it in him? Is that an excuse? I mean, are there different love languages, as other authors have said?
Yeah, there are. There certainly are, and that's a great book, and everyone should read it because there are different avenues or passageways to different people,
Mm-hmm.
and if you know their particular set of things, you can zero in on them better. Okay.
No, I mean, if a man doesn't feel that, I'm just not romantic, or I have a tough time with being affectionate, is that valid?
I mean, let's say it is and it isn't. In other words, not every man can be as romantic as the next. Not every man can be as feeling as the next. Not every woman can be as um, nurturing and giving and understanding and supportive as the next. So there's a continuum, Silka, that obviously we're not all the same. Well, we're very different as men and women, but we're not all the same as men, and we're not all the same as women. And so we usually pick someone to work these things through, but we can't expect every man to be really good at that. But is he making improvements? Is he showing a difference? Is he trying his best? Remember that if a woman says, I recognize and appreciate that you're doing your best, he feels trusted. You're doing your best. That's all a woman will need. And that will be enough, because that's who they are as a couple.
And right, exactly. And just the feeling that, I've expressed what I need, and I don't need that every 5 minutes, but if it's once a week, at least I was heard.
Yeah, and like I say, it's about making small steps over time that can lead to better and better understanding and meeting each other's needs better.
Yeah.
If we're really off the charts, then we have to learn how to get better at this. We just have to, or the relationship's going to be in trouble. I mean, if a woman's always complaining and goes, well, that's just the way I am, or a man goes, I don't care about a woman's feelings, that's not what's important. Be like me. The relationship's in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So in those respects, when you're out at the end of the continuum, they need to make improvements, or what I've seen, the relationship either falls apart or never gets good, never gets really good.
And of course, everything that we're talking about today is on the assumption that two people want to make it work. They care about each other, and perhaps they keep running into a state of frustration and don't know why. And that's where a lot of what we've talked about just, again, is just an aha. Wow, this is what's going on. Maybe there isn't an issue here, or we're making an issue out of nothing. So
yeah, there has to be a commitment to the relationship to make this work. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there isn't, and sometimes there's good reason not to. Maybe a couple's not meant to be together.
Well, let me sum it up by saying that, what I'm hearing is again, if there's a willingness, there are some very simple ways to maybe make huge improvements in your communication style, as well as meeting the other's emotional needs. And thank you for that. We are once again out of time.
Okay.
Did you want to add something else? I'm sorry.
I just want to say that, a lot of couples are not going to be able to do this maybe on their own. They're already deep in frustration and hurt. So their defenses are triggered on both the husband and the wife. And so they're in their defensive position, they're going to keep triggering each other and upsetting each other. They're going to be frustrated. Well, when you give to me, I'll give to you. Well, no, when you give to me, I'll give to you. And so if we're really stuck like this, then get professional help. Get into a good couple counseling experience. And then there's a way out of that, block. There's a way out of being stuck and frustrated. Professional help works. It really does work. And again, if you mention, like, if a couple's not meant to be together, there are times like that, then you can at least cross that in a healthy way and deal with that.
No, that's great advice, Richard. Thank you so much again for joining us. We will link to your information to the articles about what women wish men understood about them and their emotional needs, and of course the infamous book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Everybody needs to read that. Richard, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon on another episode of Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to that.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already done so, please just take 1 second and subscribe to our channel. Button's right over here. And for more videos on living your life to the fullest after 50 and finding love again after 50, please visit our website, secondact.tv. See you soon.